Hiya folks, welcome back to another Notes from a Small Workshop video. Massively long overdue. I've got so many things to update you on. So I'm going to kind of try and churn through all the updates as quick as I can, and then there's a little reward for kind of bearing with us through all of the boring update stuff. Then I am going to go into that understairs cupboard, the understairs storage video. I'm going to finish that off finally at the end of this video, so it's just going to be a little bit of a walkthrough of the remaining part of that job that I'll talk through at the end of this. And by the way, we are having the most stunning summer in the UK at the minute. I don't want to jinx it, touch wood. I'm in my shorts and everything in the workshop, my legs are out for once. Honestly, I don't remember a summer like this. Apparently the last really hot summer was like 1976, so I was one. It's just been absolutely beautiful. There's been talk of droughts and hosepipe bans and all sorts of things in the UK. Part of the joys of self-employment is that when you've got some decent weather like that, you do need to make the most of it. Because if it only comes around every 40 years that we get weather like this in the UK, then oh man. First update. Okay, the flag. I got that flag as a present, and the print, it wasn't upside down, it was back to front. The print on what is actually the back side of the flag, because it says made in China in the corner, and now it says made in China the wrong way around. But the print's not as good on that side of the flag, which is why I kind of put it the other way, hoping that people would just pretend there was a flagpole going up the right-hand side. What a mistake. Anyway, okay, sorry. I've bought my own flag. I'm so excited. If you follow me on Instagram, I had my yearly trip down to Fairford for the Royal International Air Tattoo. Oh man, amazing exhibition. If you're into planes and jets, and it's the pinnacle of stuff that mankind has made at that exhibition. And if you're a maker and you enjoy making things and you like seeing what other people have made, you can't go to something like that and not be impressed. Not getting into the undertones of what all that stuff is used for. The show itself, it was just amazing. And I was down there with my son, who's 12 years old, and he wants to be a pilot, and he's really into planes, and it was just an amazing weekend with good friends and family, and it was just fantastic. And I bought a flag, a freaking flag, a Gosforth Handyman flag, which I had proudly at our campsite that we're staying at. And of course, work-wise, again, if you've been following us on Instagram, you'll have been seeing all the updates from the Lego exhibition that I was building all the display stands and display equipment for that exhibition, which it was kind of embargoed at the start, so I couldn't talk about it very much, but the exhibition's now live. Get yourself to the Great Exhibition of the North in Newcastle and other places in the northeast of England. If you go along to the Mining Institute, you will see the amazing display of Lego done by Steve at Brick This. Highly recommend it, worth a visit. It's there until I think September time, so you've got a couple of months yet to go and have a visit, but you know that's gonna fly past. So get yourself along to the Great Exhibition of the North. I think you can follow them on Instagram, Get North, I think it is. But there's all sorts of exhibitions all around Newcastle and the northeast, and it's all celebrating northern innovation and that sort of thing. Definitely worth a visit if you're trying to come up with something to do in the summer around the northeast of England, especially if the weather stays like this. Workshop wise, I've got a few things I need to sort out. I am going to finally buy myself a new compressor. The compressor I've got was kind of a hand-me-down, and it's old, and I don't know how old it is, and that's always one of the dangerous things with compressors, if you don't know the history of it. Although the person who did have it before me was fairly meticulous with his tools and things, so I'm assuming it was looked after, but it's really getting on. So I'm going to get myself a new compressor, so you can follow me on that story. I also need to sort out my airlines as well, because my airlines in the workshop are so old that the rubber has completely disintegrated. Literally no idea how air is still going through the tubes and not just coming out all the holes in the tubes. Seems to be kind of holding together, even though it's just turned into a kind of rubbery mush in certain places. I need to replace all my air lines again, mega old. So I'm going to be getting myself, what size is this? This is, it's not written on it anywhere. Hold on, I'm going to have to pull this out. I'm assuming it's about 60 litres or something. Nothing on it says the size. I could probably work it out by doing volume of a cylinder. Yeah, let's do that. So it is 27 centimetres, what would that be, diameter, and about 85 centimetres long. So once I've done a quick bit of maths behind the scenes, this is how big my current compressor is. I want something a similar size, maybe a notch bigger, but that size works really well. One of my key things is that I want it to be nice and quiet, so that it's not doing my head in when it's running all the time. I will keep you updated on the whole compressor airline replacement thing. And of course, again, if you've been following us on Instagram and Twitter, Gosforth Andy on Twitter. There's more kind of behind the scenes stuff on Twitter than there is on Instagram. Kind of. Anyway, I'm doing the bull without a lathe challenge. If you follow hashtag BWALC, you will find updates all about that. Keith Brown at Rag & Bone Brown is running that. It's not a competition, but it's just a little daft YouTube thing where we'll have to make a bull without using a lathe. Make sure you're following Rag & Bone Brown, link in the description, and of course make sure you subscribe to this channel because it will be, my entry will be released on this channel on Friday. And what else has been happening? The podcast, Measuring Up podcast. I can't go through an update without mentioning the Measuring Up podcast. First season's done and dusted already. First 10 episodes, 20-week schedule for our first 10 fortnightly episodes. It's gone awesomely well, and we are going to make a new series starting from September. So if you follow Measuring Up Podcast on Instagram and on Twitter, I'll include links below, and obviously make sure you're following Peter Millard as well, my buddy and co-host on the podcast. We will keep you updated as to when in September the first, well, episode 11 will be coming out in September. And there's been a bit of an update to Patreon on this channel as well, and I've now opened up Patreon to everyone. The $1 tier now gives you access to all of the pricing videos and full back catalogue of pricing videos as well. So if you're interested to know how much I charge on jobs and how much particular projects cost, full breakdown of that sort of thing, get yourself onto my Patreon, and now that is only $1 a month. But yes, thank you to every single one of my Patreon patrons out there. You are literally helping to keep this channel going, and you're also helping to keep the channel sponsorship free as well, or certainly free of sponsorship from tool manufacturers. That's one of my main aims on this channel, is I don't want to be beholden to one particular manufacturer. I use tools based on, reading a few reviews on them, whether it meets my needs. I use a combination of Bosch and Makita and DeWalt and Evolution and Festool and what else? Bauer. I don't want to be tied to one particular manufacturer, and if I start taking sponsorships, and I have had offers of sponsorships on this channel, and it puts a different slant on things. I'm not having a go at anyone who does have sponsorships on their channel. It's just not the route I particularly want to go down. What else haven't I talked about? Before we get on with the understairs storage thing, the main kind of channel update I want to tell you about. Up until this point, this channel has only had one regular slot for putting videos out, and that is on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, when I put out my tip videos and whatever video that happens to go out, generally happens to go out on a Saturday morning. But from tomorrow, there's going to be a brand new weekly series, and I'm committing to it now, so I can't get out of it. A brand new weekly series, Test Tuesday. So on a Tuesday, there'll be some sort of test video where I'm testing products. It could be testing products all the way to destruction. It could be just putting products through their paces. There's going to be a lot of getting this thing back up and running again, which I had all good intentions of doing loads and loads of test videos when I first made this. And I made 1 or 2, not many, Test Tuesday from tomorrow and every Tuesday. So there's now going to be videos on Tuesdays and Saturdays. The tip videos are still going to continue to come out, but they're not going to be, it's not always going to be a tip video on a Saturday. I don't want this channel turning into just tip videos. I don't mind putting out the odd tip thing, but I do still want to put out project videos, and not necessarily how-tos, but just kind of trying to make sure there's always something a little bit different, just to keep you entertained, because that's what this channel is all about. Entertainment for makers. If you like making things, I just want to give you something to watch that you find a little bit interesting. And on that bombshell, let's wrap up this understairs storage video that I started 50,000 years ago. So I'll include a link in the description to part 1 where I explain the start of this job in a bit more detail. Watch that first because it explains a lot of the design decisions for a job like this. In part 1, I'd already built the slide-in unit for the shoe drawer, which was a very neat fit. So after that, I finished building up the internal stud partition, which is just thin CLS stud timber and 12mm MR MDF. The MDF all had to be scribed to the wall and the floor, and you'll see I had to run the electric cable for the washing machine isolator through the stud work. It was all relatively straightforward. I then fitted some plywood strips here, here and here. The ones on the left and right are to take the hinges, the Euro hinges for the doors, and the one in the middle is to cover up the edges of the MDF on the partition. I also fitted 12mm trim MDF around the opening of the shoe cupboard to tidy all of that up. I built the doors in the workshop. You can see I'm using my track saw guides to check for alignment of everything, since it's critical that when the bottom is all in line, that the diagonal top is also all in line. And since everything's going to have a round over with a thumbnail detail on the edges, it's really key that this is all correct before getting to site. Doing the round over makes a right mess, and it's not something I particularly like doing at the customer site. I will do it as a last resort, but I prefer to do that in the workshop. The doors are all biscuit jointed and glued together. The 6mm back panels are glued into a rebate in the back of the door frame, and then everything's stacked up in a big door sandwich. Once the glue has dried, it forms a really rigid door structure and also keep things relatively lightweight. If you want to know more about how these doors are made, leave a comment and I might do a separate video all about them. Then here's the job all complete and ready for the customer to paint it. In terms of the install, I started off with the shoe cupboard over on the left, since this would be the hardest one to adjust afterwards, so that was all set in and the door screwed into the main drawer unit. Once that was fitted, the 2 main doors were fitted using Euro hinges, and that allowed me to adjust everything and get the alignment exactly right. Mainly trying to ensure that the top diagonal was perfectly in line, since that's where your eyes will ultimately be drawn. Then it was simply a case of fitting all the trim around the doors onto the wall. I allowed a 3mm gap around everything. I also fitted the Victorian trim mouldings around the inside of the door frames. These are all held in place with CA glue. The customer chose the handles and the handle positions, so I fitted all that, and that was it, all done and dusted. The shoe drawer works a treat, and it will easily take the weight of all their shoes and more. The washing machine cupboard is all made to measure and has a big heavy duty shelf above it for extra storage. Then the right hand cupboard has adjustable heavy duty shelves all the way up, and of course everything is soft close. Thanks again for watching, you beautiful, beautiful people. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for the first episode of Test Tuesday. See you then.